Hello and welcome to the United Stand. It's Sunday Night Live and Jose Mourinho has silenced his critics, much like the United Stand in a way with the 24-hour stream. I'll come back to that, but I just want to say amazing, absolutely amazing what we achieved yesterday. So proud of the community, and it just shows that when good people come together to do something good, then good will win. But we'll talk about that more later. I've got Flex, I've got Ross with me, and we are going to talk about Manchester United, obviously, because we're a Manchester United fan channel, and Jose Mourinho learning lessons and silencing the critics. Flex, start with you. You were at the game yesterday. The one thing that we were talking about yesterday was about, amongst many things, was how Manchester United fans who had, we saw it, we've seen it. Last week we spoke about it, the week before we spoke about it. Manchester United fans, and I respect their opinion, they've got every right to have it, even though it's not really any of ours. Turning against Mourinho, too negative, don't really want him as manager. How, from you at the ground yesterday and doing all the great fan cams you did, do you think those fans have just suddenly changed their minds, or are they still against him, or do you think he did something yesterday that will start to turn them back?
I think it's a mixture, to be honest with you. I think yesterday it was such a vibrant performance that we've all been screaming out for. A lot of fans struggled to say a bad word against Mourinho, and I think it just goes back to that thing about football fans are fickle. Like I always say, and we're all a little bit guilty of it sometimes, some more than others, to different extents. When the going's great, we're smashing in goals and Jose's the best thing since sliced bread. As soon as we have a slightly stale performance and pick up a dire draw, etc., we all jump on his back. For me, I think that he's just been waiting to get the depth back before he could really go attacking, if you ask me. And I think because he had Zlatan back and Pogba, which I was surprised to see Pogba start, if I'm honest. I thought they'd both be on the bench. But I think because he knew he had those two back in the team, I think he was quite happy to go for it. And in terms of changing the fans' mind, I mean, there was quite a few fan cams and even fans off camera who were still kind of walking past saying that Jose's boring. One fan came on, even though he was excited that we just won, he still said, but in the big games, the big games. And that's what's still going to rest in some fans' mind, I think, until we go away from home. So, say Arsenal coming up, and if we do the Rashford, Lukaku, Martial then go for it, that's the only way I think he's going to completely change people's minds. I think we need to start picking up some points away from home against the big teams. But it's still I wouldn't say 50-50, but there's still some fans are still on the fence about Mourinho, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we'll tell them this for a little bit, but it's to be honest, I respect them more if they're still not sure about Mourinho, because I think to moan like they did over the 2 weeks after Chelsea, and then suddenly after a home result against Newcastle be like, yeah, he's the right man, I'd be surprised. And Kieran Byrne came on yesterday, and he even straight after the game he was like, fantastic result, that's what we want to see, but I've still got massive concerns about him, and I'm not sure that he'll do this again, and this, that, and the other. So I still think that some people are concerned about him, which I actually respect, because I don't like the fickle fans who just change their opinion like the weather. But one thing we spoke about yesterday, Ross, before the game, when the team news came out, we were stunned, and we're pro Mourinho like a lot of people are. We were stunned, and we sort of sympathised with those who are a bit unsure about Mourinho, because that team was not, I don't think anybody could have predicted he'd play Mata at 10, he'd play Rashford, Lukaku and Martial, that Luke Shaw would be on the bench. It was almost as we sort of predicted, and then loads of people started tweeting about it all last night, and so we got it early, to be fair, that he's had a chat with Ferguson, or he's been watching the United Stand over the international break, because it's a total change in mentality, and obviously boosted by the return of Pogba and Zlatan, which we'll talk about in a bit. But taking that aside, what he actually did with that team, there was no hint that he was going to do that at all, and totally dropping Mkhitaryan, a player he'd been standing by for a long time.
Yeah, it was so strange. It wasn't a Jose Mourinho team selection, to be honest. It was a Sir Alex Ferguson team selection, which has kind of caught us all on the hop. And I think I said it to you yesterday, but I just kind of think that he's tried to do it the Jose Mourinho way, and he's been really stubborn. And I think that's kind of where the Tottenham, shushing, he didn't shush the fans, but he shushed the camera afterwards, because I think that was a little bit of, look, if we do it my way, we'll win. And I think that massively backfired against Chelsea. And he would have seen, or he would have heard about all the grumblings that's going on around him over the international break. I think he's realised that he needs to get the fans on track. And the way to do it is to kind of do what the fans want in a way. And I think Ferguson done that in his career as well. He used to pick players that the fans wanted. You know, I remember being at Old Trafford as a kid. Ruud van Nistelrooy was on the bench. If the crowd started singing Ruud van Nistelrooy's name, he come off the bench. You know, Fergie used to, just kind of do what the club needed, what the fans wanted. And I think Jose, to try and win the fans over a little bit, has got on board with that. And yeah, I think, them fans are right. Will he do it in the big games? Because it is easy to put that sort of team lineup out against Newcastle at home. I think we're always going to batter them, but it will be interesting. And I think we were saying, Mark, that they needed to perform, not just for him, but for our sake, because that's the team we want to see. And I think they did that today. And I think a stronger defence, stronger back four, and we should have got a clean sheet out of that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute as well, but I was just taking some notes on what you said there, because obviously the great thing about these shows is you start off with things you want to talk about, then people start mentioning stuff and it develops thoughts in your head. And I was just thinking there, Sir Alex Ferguson was a brilliant politician. The way he manages has been interpreted and developed in business and all over the world, not just football, because the way he managed can be used in high-end business. And what he did was very political. Was playing the crowd, and some of his quotes revolved around, if you win the Manchester United crowd, they'll back you forever. They expect a certain way, and you've got to respond to the crowd and respect the crowd. Now Mourinho, and I like Mourinho, is a dictator. He's not a people pleaser. He's a dictator. It's my way. It's what I do. That's Mourinho's past. It's almost like, Flex, over the last 2 weeks, something in Mourinho or some chat, and I would be amazed if it wasn't with Sir Alex Ferguson, was something along the lines of, look, you're the best manager in the world. What you've achieved, Jose, with people like Porto, don't ever worry about Pep. He's had a silver spoon, open checkbook. He's doing really well, but he's not done what you've done. But this is Manchester United. What you did at Chelsea, what you did at Real Madrid, this is Manchester United. The fans are special. You can't argue with them. You can't snub them. And actually, if you go along with what they want and it doesn't work, they'll still respect you because it's what they wanted. It's like if we got beat yesterday, where would we have gone as fans? Because that was the team we wanted. So Mourinho, I think he's taken a bit of that on board and realised that I've got to work with these fans. They are the best fans in the world. I've got to do things my way, but if I do it totally my way, I'm not going to be in a job for long. I mean, we're second in the league. This is before yesterday. We're second in the league. We're comfortably top of the Champions League. He's won us 2 trophies. And for the last 2 weeks, we all know, we've had United fans saying, I don't want Mourinho. So it doesn't matter if he's getting the results, if he's doing it his way. He's got to take on board what United's all about.
Yeah, he does, exactly. Jose's no fool. He knows the stature of Man United. And the things he was saying when he first took over us showed that he understood the magnitude of the job. And there's going to be moments where Jose is stubborn and sticks to his guns, because that's the type of manager he is. He has a winning formula that he's taken with him no matter where he's gone, and it's worked. But for me, though, if I'm going to be completely honest, I don't think he's actually changed that much. Like, okay, he's put Martial and Rashford in, like, for the first time, which is what we've been crying out for. But other than that actual specific change, Zlatan's always been injured since the start of the season. I don't really see him actually have changed too much. I just think he just got the players back, so he was able to go a bit more expansive. And I think the fact that we did lose against Chelsea, in the manner that we did, I think he was looking for a different solution anyway, because he's that kind of manager. He can look for a different solution to a problem once the problem happens. So for me, I think Jose's been quite smart. I think he's getting a lot of plaudits for doing what he should be doing, or what we expect of Jose. If I'm honest, on my part, I don't think he's actually picked an amazing, like, tactical genius performance yesterday. I think that it's Newcastle at home, so we should be beating them, we should be comfortable. And I think the most sensible change for any decent manager, whether it be Jose or, dare I say it, someone else, I'm not going to say boys, but dare it be someone else, it's an easy decision to put Martial and Rashford in. Like, that wasn't a hard decision. I could have made that decision. You could have made that decision. And yes, we've been screaming for it all year, and we haven't had it. But I think that's the big part of it is, like, the injuries that came on. So for me, yes, Jose is a great manager, etc. But I wasn't really giving him amazing props for what he done yesterday, because for me, that team should run out there. It should be attacking, and we were attacking prior to the injuries to Paul Pogba. So I think he was just the big link. And I think once Jose knew he'd have him back, I think that he knew he would give the team a lift, give the fans a lift, and that's exactly what we saw. Ashley Young does what he does, Matic does what he's been doing, Lukaku's done what he's been doing, Martial hasn't changed. All the players were doing exactly what they've been doing. So for me, I don't really see it as a Mourinho masterclass. I see it as just a Mourinho doing what he should be doing.
Yeah, well, this is what the show's all about. We're never all going to agree, and totally respect that. And George Badu says, I don't agree with you either. That Jose must have discussed this with somebody else. Why don't you think Jose isn't capable of his own thoughts? Which is totally your opinion. But personally, I do think something happened in the international break because Mata playing at number 10. Why didn't you do that in October? It's such a shame because I think we'd have more points. Yeah, playing Martial, Lukaku and Rashford. He did it in the second half against Chelsea, but he's not really done it any other time. I totally expected Fellaini to play yesterday because he's used him all the time and he didn't. Lingard as well. I expected Mkhitaryan to at least be on the bench. Luke Shaw on a bench when we've got loads of players back with no Blind and Darmian when he's been loyal to them all season and he puts Luke Shaw on there. I just feel something's changed, but it's open for debate, and Flex and George don't necessarily agree with that. I'm sure some people don't. I personally think something did happen, and I think that can only happen. I think that can only be a good thing. But throwing it sort of back into a devil's advocate position, Ross, I've got to say I don't think I've ever called it a masterclass, and I do agree with Flex on that. I think beating Newcastle at home 4-1, but I don't think we should be like, yeah, we're back in it. We're still 8 points behind Manchester City. We last night on the 24-hour stream were looking at Manchester City's next few fixtures, and I think we both agreed that we would be stunned if Man City drop any points before they play us in December. Looking at their fixtures, they're all very, very winnable before they play us. We've got Brighton next week. We will win that. There's no reason not to. But then we've got Watford away, who I think won this afternoon, and we've got Arsenal away, who won yesterday. Effectively, we've got to win Brighton, Watford away, Arsenal away, just to still be 8 points behind City, to then beat them and make a title race of it. So no matter how well we played yesterday, I don't think we can jump ahead of ourselves and start saying, yeah, we're going to take 9 points from the next 3 games. I'm certainly not going to say that. Watford are a good team and Arsenal will be up for it. And they're massive challenges that we've put ourselves in because of the drop points against Chelsea, Liverpool, Huddersfield. If we're 8 points behind City when we play them, I'd be over the moon because they're not going to lose or draw a game, are they?
No, they're not. And it's just an abnormal season for Man City this season, to be honest. But what you can do is take it a game at a time and stay in touch, like you said. And the glimmer of hope that I hold on to is kind of our form, because we've shown glimpses of small spurts of form. We haven't hit a run of form like the City have, which they're in the form of their life. And I think at some point this season we will break into a run of form. Now, if that's off the back of the Newcastle result, so be it. And we carry that into City. Fantastic. And I just, I've jokingly called them Rubber the Green FC all season, and I think they have had a lot of the Rubber the Green. At some
just
point,
quickly, Ross, we spoke about this. People might not have seen the match of the day last night. How that's not a red card that Company got in the first 2 minutes. And yeah, City are fantastic. I don't think anyone disagrees that City are playing well, but those sort of decisions are just, you don't need that. In fact, you made a good point. I wanted to hint at it, that you would talk about it, that we've almost got a responsibility to save the Premier League this year, because if they go 11 points clear, I don't think we're catching them, and this league's over in December.
Yeah, it is. That would be tragic. And I was saying that I don't think I've ever... Because United have historically always broke into form around February time. I can't remember a Premier League season that's been over at the end of November. I don't think I've ever seen it, and it'd be tragic for it to happen. But look, yeah, we have got a duty, and I think we're near about thereabouts. And that 8 points into that City game is key, because it's a big if, we are at that situation, we go into that game potentially being able to close into 5 points. And it's not just the 5 point gap, it's the momentum swing if we get a result. Look, these are all ifs and buts, but it's ifs and buts that City are going to win all their games. It's early days, and all we can do as a club is continue the form that we have. And I think off the back of some terrible performances last season, I don't think we played well at all, really. I think we kind of fluked the Europa League in the end, to be honest. But we're playing well, man. We're top of our Champions League group, second in the league, second in goals scored. I think we're second in goals conceded. It's not doom and gloom for me.
No. The bubble will burst. I think we all accept that the bubble will burst. I do want to talk about Garth Crooks's view. To be honest, I'd rather listen to Garth Brooks' view on football. But He's a country singer, if people don't know. But it's just coming it back into this flex, because it was one of the things I wanted to discuss. And a lot of people, again, yesterday on the 24-hour stream, it was probably the most asked question in 24 hours, was, can we catch City? And we, so we did spend a little bit of time looking at it. And the bubble will burst for City, but I think my opinion, and I don't know what yours is because we haven't asked you about this, is that they won't drop any point. They'll win the next 3 games, and that will put them at least 8 points clear of us when we play them. And it'll be more if we don't beat Watford and Arsenal away, which will be very tough games. I think if it goes to... somebody said yesterday, if we lose another game, Mourinho knows that that's the title gone, because 11 points, it's not a title gone, but it's very hard to turn it around. Do you feel that we can catch them? I mean, just so I know I normally say it afterwards, but my theory this year is that all the top 5 sides have improved and gone up a level, and actually most of the top 5 sides should be beating anybody below 6. Anybody below 6, sorry, I think there's 6 teams, isn't there, going for the top 4. I don't think teams like Stoke, Leicester are that good, and I think any of the top teams should be beating them, as we saw Chelsea at West Brom yesterday absolutely pounding them. And that's the problem with Man City now that they've got a big lead. There's not many teams that can beat them apart from the top 5, and they've only got Spurs and us to play, and that's not for another till the middle of December. So it makes it very, very difficult for us when we're playing catch-up. But do you believe we can do it?
It's going to be really, really difficult, if I'm honest with you. I think the biggest thing is, like you said, is trying to keep it at 8 points just until we play them. That's the most difficult thing, and we have to try and take a little bit away from City and just focus on our own form and see where we are by the time we play them. Because like we've been saying, we could be saying all of these things and we go to Arsenal and lose. Because for me, it's great that we've banged up Newcastle yesterday and we're back on track, etc. And we should do the same to Brighton. And if we can get any type of win, regardless of the performance against Watford, yeah, we'll be on that 9-pointer. But for me, if we just go to Arsenal and play as negative as we did last year, or as negative as we've been playing against the top 5 this year, it just undoes all the hard work. And then, we're going to be what's that, 11 points behind City by the time we play them, and forget it. We don't want to be playing City. Well, regardless of when we play City, we will have to beat them. If it's 8 points, if it's 11 points, it's damage limitation. But if we can get to them at 8 points, then brilliant. It makes that City game a huge, even bigger occasion than it is at any time. But I think it's difficult to say because, yes, City are playing so well, and you can't really see them dropping any points for the foreseeable in the very near future. And we've got some difficult games where, if you're being completely honest, and it's not me being a pessimist, it's me being a realist, am I 100% confident that we're going to go to Arsenal and win? No, I'm not. I've seen no evidence this season, with the changes we've made and Lukaku doing well and getting all these goals and Pogba coming into the team, etc., etc. Have I seen enough evidence in the 2 big games we've played away from home to suggest that we're going to go and do anything different? That's for Jose to prove to us. That's for the players to prove to us. I would love to be proved wrong, but we go there on the 2nd of December, and hopefully we go there with the 9 points in the bag from now. But can I see us going there and getting the 3 points? I really think it'll be difficult. A lot of people think Arsenal are a laughing stock and this, that, and the other. But if we don't have a good record of going to there, and if we don't turn up and lose or even draw, it's not going to be great for us, and then we can forget about City. Do you know what I mean? So if we spend too much time thinking about them and not taking care of our own business, we're going to come unstuck. So I know I haven't really answered your question because it's quite a difficult one to say, but I just think that to give ourselves the best chance of doing it, we just have to keep it at 8 points, beat them, and make it 5. Then we've got a real title chase on our hands, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think spot on. And they've got Spurs just after that as well. So Spurs beat them, we could be down to 2. But you know what? In a positive way, and I sort of want Ross to say what I've little a note there about, which he did talk about any other season. I think we'd be top of the league over the last few. But before I say that, it is fine margins. Whether you're talking about Company being sent off, which he should have been, whether you're talking about the added minutes against Bournemouth, who deserved at least a point spent against City and they won it, whether you're talking about Mane being sent off for Liverpool when they were the better side, when you're talking about Morata being injured in the first half against City and they went on to win it 1-0. City probably do have, despite how well they've played, I think they've probably got at least 3 more points than they deserve, which would obviously knock it down to 5 points. I look at us, I don't think anyone can argue about all the games we've won. We've not been lucky in any of them. We've won every single game comfortably. But I look at the points we've dropped. Stoke, that was 2 points dropped. That would make it down to 3 points. Liverpool, we got what we deserved because we approached the game wrong, so I'm not going to moan about that. We should have got 2 more points, but we approached it wrong. Huddersfield was just, that happens once every few years, and it had to happen this year in a season where we can't afford it to happen. So that for me was at least 3 points. Well, you can't get more than 3 points. That was 3 points dropped, which would put us level with them, and then you could afford to lose Chelsea. So I think the 8 points gap is unfair, but football isn't fair. You get what you deserve, but I do think it's false, and I think this falseness allows these idiot comments that I'm going to talk about in a minute about how City are the best Premier League team ever. Just total nonsense. I think City have had a rub of the green, playing very well, and United have made, there's no argument that United don't deserve to win every game they've gone. We've not been lucky in those, we've deserved them, but I think we've messed up on a few results that would have got us a little bit closer. And I do agree with Flex Ross that there's no reason for us to expect to go and get 6 points from Watford and Arsenal, but we do need to, because if that goes beyond 8 points with City, it is over. You can't play City at Old Trafford with an 11-point gap and think, well, if we beat them, we've got a chance. It would take a massive collapse, because I don't see where City would drop the points unless they got major injuries. But yeah, on that point, I think you said it before, any other season we would be comfortably top. Last year, Leicester the year they won it. It's just Pep's got everything in order and he's had that open checkbook and they're flying.
Yeah, they are. It's a strange season. And going back to your point about the Premier League, about the sort of top 6 and the rest, and I think you're absolutely spot on. And I think that what's happened over the last few years is that the top 6 have actually been picking players from the lower down teams, and it's weakened them to a point where we have this season. I mean, you just look at teams like Everton without Lukaku, trash. Leicester without Kante, trash. And I think that's happened across the board, which is why teams like City are finding it easy. But they have had the rub of the green, and they are on a run of good form, but it only takes a couple of injuries. Kevin De Bruyne, a key one, or it only takes them to take their eye off the ball for a Champions League fixture, potentially. There's so many variables, but yes, at the minute it looks like they're running away with it. But how many seasons, and I know it was Fergie, it was a different United, granted, but how many seasons under Fergie did we pretty much write it off? And if we come back, our form in February used to be phenomenal, and I just hope, you've always got to cling on to it, that we will recreate that. And as to City being the best Premier League team ever, please don't tell me it was Garth Crooks that said that, because to be honest, mate, if you look up cretin in the dictionary, there's a picture of his name next to it, because he's just, I cannot stand the man. I really hope it wasn't him that said that.
Well, I'll reveal who it was in a little bit, because I do want to talk about something else with Flex first that I think a lot of people want to talk about. Loads of people watching tonight. We will be mentioning how much we raised and reading some of the people who've contributed during the day as well, to give them a shout out and explaining to those who don't understand what it's all about. So thanks for everyone who got involved with the 24-hour stream. But lots of you watching. Do drop a like on the video, and remember, tomorrow night at 8 o'clock it's your turn. It's the Skype show tomorrow night at 8 o'clock where you can Skype in and have your say. So if there's stuff going on today that you don't agree with or you want to say, just jot it down on a bit of paper and have it ready for 8 o'clock tomorrow. So 8 o'clock tomorrow for the Skype show. Do drop a like, and if you are new, subscribe to the channel. We're closing in on 150,000, which will be a great achievement for us all again. But Flex, you were at the game yesterday. I mean, I've got a negative spin on this, but Pogba was just amazing yesterday, and it just, I think I said last week I don't like the fact that we're a one-man team, because when he's injured again, we have problems again, but he makes us so much different. We were smashing teams before he got injured. He comes back and we smash teams again. I just think I think he's absolutely unique. I said it in the summer. The thing about Pogba is there's no one like him. There aren't centre midfielders anymore who get the ball and run at people. And if he gets past his midfielder, there's space, because someone's got to come to him and then he can pass it to the space. He's got a range of passing that is, he's like bloody Rory McIlroy. He can hit it 400 yards and he put it on someone's sweet spot. He is brilliant. And actually, is there a replacement for Pogba anyway? Certainly Fellaini and Herrera aren't. But you were at the ground yesterday, and you do see things at the ground that you don't see on TV. How good was he? And is it are you concerned that if he picks up another injury, we're just back to where we were in October?
Yeah, Pogba was immense yesterday. I think the biggest thing for me is that he's such an athlete and a naturally gifted footballer that he didn't even look like he'd been off for a long period of time at all. He really didn't look like he'd missed the game, and he just fitted in seamless. He got us ticking. For me, last season, Pogba was I know he was trying to find his feet and didn't find his best form in a transition season for us, especially with Jose. I accused him a lot last year of trying too much. You know, the one pass too many, one touch on the ball too many, one Cruyff turn too much. Yesterday, and obviously his performances this season in general, everything was just spot on. He done all the simple things really well, and I think that gave him the catalyst before all the fancy stuff, before all the flicks, before the passes, before the assists, before the goal. Doing the simple things well is what made him more effective before he actually got going. And even when we conceded, I said it in my review of the game, I watched him. I watched him as I think De Gea booted the ball back up to the centre circle and Pogba put it down. And he just looked around.
Now we know you call yourself Pogba, don't you? Away from the camera.
I know. Yeah, my bad. I'm not as good as him, but I'm a right player actually. But anyway, back to what I was saying. He just sort of he put his hands out and he said, "Guys, calm down." He just put his arms up and down, saying, "Calm down. We're fine. We're fine." And I think.
Did you think that at the game, Flex? Because when we did concede, we were doing the watch along, and a lot of people went into panic. Yeah. And I said, "We're going to be fine. We'll be fine. Just relax." And I did feel that, and in the past I haven't, and I don't know why that was, but it's great that Pogba did as well.
Yeah, Pogba did. If I'm being honest with how I thought, I was a bit worried in terms of we wasn't playing well in that first 20 minutes, and I don't want to go as far as saying Newcastle were banging on the door and it was all one-way traffic, but it wasn't like a massive surprise to see them score because we wasn't playing well at all. And I was starting to think, cool, if we don't win this, where do we go from here in terms of this is the team we've all been screaming for, etc. It's not Jose's fault this time, definitely. No one can say that. So where do we go from there? So that was my main concern. But what I did like was, Pogba just kept looking for the ball. He kept wanting the ball at all times, and he just kept on his game, and he just went from strength to strength to strength, and he was just fantastic throughout the whole game. He got the assist, and like I said, he got his goal as well. And I think you pay 90 million for a football player. He's going to be an essential part of your team. You don't buy a 90 million pound football player to not be probably the most important player to you. So yes, you do want to have a lot of emphasis on him. And unfortunately, when you get a player as gifted as Pogba, there aren't many out there, so you can't just go and buy a second one just for backup. Unfortunately, you're never going to get a like for like in that depth. So whenever he's a miss, you're always going to be at a loss. But he was fantastic, but now he's got to do it against the better sides and the bigger games, and keep that consistency up. Yes, it was fantastic, and I don't want to sound like a pessimist, but I do look at things like in such a real fashion. And yes, we can get carried away because we've missed him for a little while. We've had our excitement. Now it's back to the hard work, because if he goes hiding against Brighton, doesn't have a good game, and then we go to Watford and we don't see him, Newcastle meant nothing. He's got to get that consistency. And, when we go and play, say, Arsenal, we need to see him. So those are the games that I'm really going to be fully judging him on. But he was fantastic yesterday. I can't take anything away from him.
Yeah, the French Xhaka played brilliant, I thought, which is funny really, because so many people were calling him Pog flop last year, and Xhaka's better than him, the typical Arsenal nonsense. But I think you're right, Flex, and I think it's the same for Martial. Mourinho's done a lot of good work with them, because I think Martial and Pogba last year were almost trying too hard. This year they're still doing the good things, but they're retaining the ball in positions where maybe last year, I remember Pogba always used to get swamped and lose the ball, whereas this year he'll get rid of it, and Martial's the same. They've got rid of that, and it's made them better players. And I think, to be fair, they've both got an excuse. First year under Mourinho, Pogba's first year in the Premier League. It's going to take time to adjust. And this year, they've both been fantastic. And for me, with De Gea, they're our three most important players. They're the three players that I think can walk into most teams in world football as well. Maybe Martial not quite yet, but he will be there in a year. Pogba and De Gea definitely could walk into Madrid and Barcelona teams right now, and certainly Bayern Munich and PSG. They're fantastic players, and Martial will be there as well, which again is all part of the progress. I don't want to talk about Mkhitaryan tonight, but I think where's his excuse? He's had a year in the Premier League like Pogba, and he's not improved. He's not getting better, he's getting worse. So where he goes, we'll have to keep an eye on that. But he has been dropped. It's the right thing to do, and he needs to get some balls. He's had to kick up the arse, and let's see if he can respond to it. But yeah, I think Pogba's really important, and I'd save the comment here from George Kyle because he's actually spot on. We might worry, like I do, that if Pogba gets injured, we're back to where we were in October. But as George says, in every single team, there is one outstanding player who makes the difference, and Pogba is ours. And I think we can all say that if you take Hazard out of Chelsea, you take De Bruyne out of City at the moment, and they do struggle. It's a fact, and obviously the more players you've got like that, the better. But there is one sort of person who brings it all together. Talking about City, Ross, I've saved this comment for you purposely. So Garth Crooks has come out and said that Manchester City are the best Premier League footballing side ever. I mean, for me, I think he needs help, and he does come out with comments like this. But the Premier League's been going for a long time. I think it's absolutely disgusting to the 99 treble side. Not only that, the 08 United side, the 05 Chelsea side, and the Invincibles of Arsenal. I mean, this is bloody December. They've played well, rubber the green. They've not won anything yet, and they're the best ever side the Premier League's ever seen. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed him. I do watch a lot of that the BBC score programme, and to be honest, he looks like he's looking at about 5 different screens at the same time, and you don't know what's going on. But how it's almost offensive. It's hard to get through this without swearing, but I'm not going to swear. But how dare he say that after what? 12 Premier League games. So the team that's played 12 Premier League games this season are the greatest team the Premier League's ever seen. Get out of town, mate. You're a joke. He's an absolute joke. I can't really elaborate, mate. I mean, if compare the teams like for like, compare the teams of how they played. I mean, if I put the overlaps, the 99 team over this team, I'm struggling to fit Man City players in it, because I'm telling you now, none of the back four, all the keeper gets in, so that's 5 players straight away. And you're looking at Beckham's, Keane's and Skulls. Get out of town, mate. What a joke. I can't even comment any more than that, mate.
No, I think you're spot on. We had to bring it up because I do see more and more United fans flex saying, "Oh, City are fantastic," and that. And I'm more than happy to say they're good. But I've always felt all season, we'll see how good City are when he plays Mourinho, because there's no better manager in world football at shutting down a system. And I wish we'd played them in September, right near the start, because I think if Mourinho had played him, shut him down, everyone else would have seen how you do it. Unfortunately, as I said, Liverpool went down to 10 men. It's very difficult against a team like City when you go down to 10 men. Chelsea, I think, without Morata, were just toothless, and they lost it 1-0 in a tight game. And then everybody else I just don't think are good enough. And we've smashed teams, so I don't understand why everyone's like, "Oh, City are the best team in the world because they're smashing teams." Well, in fairness, when we've had Pogba fit, we've smashed everybody as well. We've been hitting 4 goals most games. So I just wish we'd played them early, because my frustration about City is, yes, they're playing very, very well, but I think there's a lot of naivety from the other managers, and I think Mourinho would go, "This is how you beat them. Might not be pretty, but this is how you beat them." And I think we'd be well set up to beat them. Get 8 men behind the ball, Lukaku up on the halfway line, pace down the flanks to hit them on the break, and just sit back and say, "Pass your way through that." But unfortunately, us and Spurs, who I think are the 2 teams that can beat them, by the time we play them, like we were talking about 20 minutes ago, it might be too big a gap. But I'm not going to say City aren't playing bad, but I do think that people are going over the top.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when people are playing amazing football and scoring loads of goals, it's easy to jump on the bandwagon, as they say. And it's 12 games in, man. I mean, if at the end of the season they've gone unbeaten and they've conceded the least goals and scored the most and got a record points tally, it would pay me to say it. But then I would say that they're the best ever team. But until I see that in black and white on a piece of paper on the league, you're not going to hear me saying that. Yes, we're not blind. They're playing very well at the moment, and they've got good players. They've addressed the problems that they've had last year, and they look a better side. We look a better side when we got our players fit. So it is about that. I do agree with you. Like, if we could have played them earlier and set that benchmark, because it's kind of like last year. They started off well. They won like 10 on the bounce. I can't remember who beat them first, but then they went through an awful slump. And it's like when one team works out how to play against another team, other teams do follow suit. Same with the attacking, when a lot of teams saw Chelsea get the success with the 3-5-2. all of a sudden teams are trying the 3-5-2, or sorry, with the five across the back. Then everyone's playing wing backs. Do you know what I mean? So that is how football goes sometimes. But in terms of City running away with it and stuff, that remains to be seen. At this stage, they're showing signs of it, and if it gets any bigger, the gap, then yeah, they're probably going to be in cruise control. But to say that they're the best ever team in the league, in the Premiership, and the history of it is just absolute nonsense, because there's no evidence, and there hasn't been enough time to elapse for that to even be said and proved. So you're not going to catch me, even listening to comments like that. It's absolute nonsense.
And George is on form tonight because he says the United team of '99 would beat them. They could beat teams who played better because they were born winners through and through. And I think United do lack that at the moment. But yeah, I mean, do you think Roy Keane and Scholes and Beckham and Giggs would get overrun by bloody Delph and Fernandinho and Torre and Sane? Nah. Stam would just go through bloody De Bruyne in the first 10 minutes physically and absolutely terrify him. And we could play football. You know, there's no way. Look, fitness apart, because it was 20 odd years ago. Not quite 20 years yet, actually. But you know what I mean. It was a long time ago, so fitness levels have improved today. But this Man City team's not done anything. They've not won anything, and I do think they've got a good shot at the Champions League, Ross. Though, but you know what? That's one positive I'm taking at the moment, is that we were on about the team yesterday and the strength of the bench, and Bailly and Jones have still got to come back as well. That bench looks really, really strong. The team looks strong. We've got January to come as well, and I think we will do some business there. I think for me, Darmian and Blind are the two players I would be looking to get rid of in January. Not because I don't like them, but because they're not even on the bench yesterday. Do we miss that sort of squad player? We'd get good money for them. We'd take them off the wage bill and bring in a couple of players we actually need. So I'd be looking to get rid of them in January. Bring a couple in. Champions League doesn't start till February. Mourinho's a very good cup manager. I think that actually, even if we were out of the title race by Christmas, effectively, because it's too big a gap, we've got to fight for top four. I think 4 points separated second to sixth yesterday, so that's a big battle. I think looking ahead's great, but we've got to look around us as well. But this team, I know it's not likely, but it's not out of the question that this team could be very, very competitive in the Champions League.
Mate, United stand exclusive. You heard it here first, but I honestly think the Champions League is coming to a Premier League team this season, and I you'd obviously put Man City as favourites for that. There's a reason, but I don't even think you can discredit teams like Chelsea, because historically they've always done better in the Champions League when they have no shout at a title, and I think that's going to kind of evolve this season to be that. And they'll probably go all out. Conte too. I don't think he's going to save his job, but I think he'll go all out for that, to be honest. So I think it's coming to the Premier League, and I have always said, and I do have to wonder sometimes if I am being a little bit deluded, but I honestly think we have the best manager for a Champions League run. And I think that although City should be favourites, I think there's a reason for it. I think we're very close behind them, and I think a lot of that is to do with the manager, because over 2 legs, I don't think there's any better coach in the world to get a team into the latter stages of that tournament. And it's not that Jose Mourinho doesn't have, it's not that he doesn't have resources. I mean, that Inter Milan team that he won it with, I don't think is as good as what we've got. The Porto team...
The Barcelona team he beat is better than anything that exists at the moment as well. So there's two contrasts there.
Exactly. So he's the man to do it. And so I think he's got enough. And like you said about the bench, I mean, even if you've got some of them bench players being what you call cup players and just saving them for Champions League ties, they're not small players. It's Zlatan Ibrahimovic. It's Marcus Rojo, arguably our form defender of last season. I mean, there's a lot on that bench. And like Flex always says, the fickleness, it's true, because... And I'm one of them, because, maybe a couple of weeks ago, I was a little bit doom and gloom about where we were in our squad. Yesterday I was looking at it thinking, wow, this is a team, this is a squad. And that's maybe what a few injuries can do to a team. And you know what? It'd be the same for others. And you said it earlier. If De Bruyne, Aguero, and Sane all got injured for City, I'd love to know how they got on, because that's kind of the luck that we get at the minute. So it's not. I back us, mate, in that Champions League.
Yeah, it's look. I'll be honest. I'll say it here now. I think if we can beat Brighton, which we will, if we can beat Watford and Arsenal and have 8-point gap with City when we play them, I'll be very, very proud of this team, because I think, I agree with Flex, I think going to Arsenal and going to Watford and winning, there's no reason for us to think that we're going to do that. We can do it, but we're still, I think we've got to go up a level to do it, because where is this form? We did rubbish at Liverpool, we did rubbish at Chelsea, we scraped the result against Spurs in a battle. To go to Watford and Arsenal, two teams that are very strong at home, and win those games, we can do it, but we shouldn't be believing we're going to do it with total confidence, but we should be believing with confidence that City are going to win all their games before they play us. So maintaining that 8-point gap would be a huge achievement for us. But what I was talking about in the international break is that I think we just need to be patient. What if we do lose to Watford and we draw with Arsenal, and by the time we play City we are 13 points behind them? I imagine all the Mourinho haters will be going, get rid of him, he's rubbish and everything like that, but we could still be comfortably in second place. And I still believe, regardless of what happens with City, this squad is a potential Champions League winning squad. But the meltdown would start up again, Flex, I think. And the other thing I was going to say is that I also think that this Champions League is probably going to be the most competitive ever in many years. Somebody had said, I think Real Madrid will win it. Actually, I will be honest about City. I think Real Madrid would struggle to beat City on form at the moment. But I also think United over 2 legs could beat Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid have been a very good team for the last 2 years and they've won back-to-back. But I think they've sort of been a bit found out. People thought Barcelona were going to win it for the next decade. They didn't. They won it for 2 or 3 years and then they got found out. And I don't think Real Madrid will win it this year. PSG are competitive. The Premier League, like Ross says, is very competitive. Barcelona are doing well. Bayern Munich might be a threat with their new manager. So I think the Champions League is very much up in the air. But do you think United are a serious contender for that, or do you think we just need to focus on doing what we can in the Premier League and securing maybe second or third or hoping for first?
It's difficult to say, really. I mean, I said at the beginning of the season when people were saying to me what would be a failure of a season this year, like people were saying, would it be a failure if we don't win the league this year? For me, I said, and I'll stick by it, even though I could be silenced very soon, and it could be a failure in my words. I was saying that a failure this season would be not having a title challenge. I want to see us challenge for the title. We don't have a divine right to win it. It's very difficult to do that. Like you said, all the top 5 teams, top 6 teams have got better. So for me, I started the season with the objective of I really want to challenge for the title. I want a close run in for it, and I want to be in with a chance of winning that title. That's what I really want. The Champions League, I think the fact that it is so open this year, and there are a lot of teams who potentially can win it this year, we have got a fair crack at the whip. And with Jose at the helm in the Champions League, he's got experience of tough games. And like Ross says, the Inter Milan team that he won it with is arguably maybe not as good as our team. The Porto team certainly isn't. So Jose's got the tools and resources to get us far in that. But for me, it's like what I said last season as well. As the season panned out, it's about reassessing your objectives. Like, we all start wanting the best. We want to win the quadruple straight away, but then you get more realistic, or you might drop out of certain competitions, and you reevaluate your objectives. And I think this season's no different. If we end up 13 points behind City and we kiss goodbye to the Premiership, can we go on and win the FA Cup? Can we go far in the Champions League? Can we retain the League Cup? That is far down the list. But like I said, it's about reevaluating your objectives as you go through the season. But for me, I really, really wanted a title mount. I really wanted a title mount. We've been so far off it in the last 3 years that I really want to see us challenging for it. And to be fair, if we don't get the next 4 results right, we could kiss goodbye to it anyway. Then we would have to reevaluate our situation, and then yes, I'll be looking to the Champions League to see if we can go as far as possible in that. So there's a good chance we can go far in it. Do I think we can win it? I think we're a little bit short, in my opinion. I think we're a little bit short, but under Jose, he can definitely get the best out of what we have. There's no reason why we can't pull out a 2-legged victory, like say, against the Real Madrid. Whereas in previous years, I'd think absolutely no chance we wouldn't want to play any of them. But I think we can get to the semis. I really do think we can get to the semis, definitely the quarters. So yeah, there's scope for that. But for me, I really want a Premiership title mount, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and hopefully it can happen. I think the next few weeks are going to be ridiculously tough. I have highlighted the Watford and Arsenal games, and if we can get to those with 8-point gap with City, I'd love it. Never say never. City might drop points at Huddersfield next week, but I can already write you the headlines on Sunday. City will go to Huddersfield, they'll beat them about 6-0, and it will all be about how Pep schooled Mourinho by going and getting points that we didn't get. So I guarantee that will happen. Devon Powell has made a contribution. He says, I've watched every City game closely and I see many discrepancies that can easily be exploited. I'm sure that Jose Genius Mourinho will see it as well, e.g. high press, Silva and De Bruyne. Yeah, I do agree with that. I think it's a fantastic comment, not just because you've contributed, but also because, yeah, it goes back to what we were all talking about there. I wish we'd played them early. I don't think the quality in the Premier League is that good this year, and I think some managers need a blueprint of how to beat City, and I think we'll see it in December. It's just, will it be too late because the gap will be too big? But we'll wait and see. Anyway, thanks everybody who has... well, let me just explain. Yesterday we did a 24-hour stream. We did it to raise money for cancer in relation to a friend of mine who died a year ago this weekend, but it wasn't just about my personal thing, and my gran died a few weeks later. It was about raising money to fight this horrible disease anyway. We have raised so far, we wanted to get 5,000 in 24 hours. We've raised £6,387.75. However, somebody pointed something out to me, that we actually do get the gift aid on that as well, which is £717. So we are over 7,000. We're on 7,000. My maths aren't great. We're about 7,100, which is stunning. You can still contribute. The link is in the video description for that. I just want to say personally, as a presenter on the United Stand, that you know, I'm absolutely ecstatic with it, because the one thing that really comes out of all this is that the United Stand stands for something far bigger than Manchester United fan community. It is a real big positive, and I think a lot of people get that this is a community where people, you know, last night in the 24-hour stream we had people talking about all sorts of things, and I think you in the live comments, you do get on with each other and you do help each other, and you should be very, very proud of that, and you certainly came together to help us with this. But people have been contributing through the day, and I read every single one from the 24-hour stream, so I just want to read the people who have contributed since we shut it down. So Lynn Hall said, fantastic effort all at the United Stand and all who donated and joined in. She's contributed £5. Philip Smith, who's actually my brother-in-law, he contributed £100, and I've said thank you to him from everyone in the United Stand, so thanks for that, Philip. Helen Turn contributed. She says, amazing, well done, sorry it's late. She's contributed £10. It doesn't matter, you can still contribute through the link in the video description. Graham Oliver, congratulations on the success of this fundraiser for a great cause. He contributed $20. Star Richlow, who's a big fan of the channel, he says, well done everyone and great effort, £10. Alex Andrews says, well done, amazing effort for such a worthwhile charity. Lost my father to pancreatic cancer 10 years ago, and the care and support that Marie Curie provided people is vitally important. He contributed £10. We've had two anonymous ones. Ned's Al-Zukamani, well done. I'm recovering from leukemia myself, but what you've all done is amazing. $20. And Dr. Chunky Biscuit contributed 3 hours ago. He says, well done, and everyone else that's helped. My granddad died of cancer and my dad died of leukemia back in '96. I've been following this great channel since about 3 weeks from the beginning. Keep it up. And he contributed £10 and the gift aid as well. So the link's in the video description for everybody to contribute. It was emotional at times last night, especially in the last 10 minutes. I feel fine. A lot of people are saying, oh, because a lot of people were with us, and you know, Ross was with us at like 4 in the morning for an hour or so. Marcus came on with me for about 6 hours, which is fantastic. We had people in the live comments who were there for nearly all of it, which is just stunning. And the one thing I like to say I take away from it is this, the humanity. I don't know. I think society's changed a lot since I was a kid in my teens. I think, you know, everyone's become a little bit self-centered because that's what social media allows. I said when I was doing the stream that Children in Need was on Friday, and I hardly even knew it. But when I was in my teens, you always knew it. And I think what we saw with what we did is that, you know, people, I said this and it's very true, that the faceless man or woman contributing to something, you will feel the reward of that. When you help people, it's a great feeling, and it's not about getting a pat on the back. It's just about humanity. And I think a lot of us have learned a lesson, a good lesson that hopefully we can go and share with the world, really, that, you know, compassion and empathy and helping people is really, really important. And I think in this world where everybody wants everything, the X Factor generation, I think it's really good. So I think you should all be very, very proud. It's not about any individual or any individual cause. It's about coming together collectively. And I said it right from the start when the first £10 was contributed, that whatever we achieve, we will achieve it together. under the United Stand entity which we've built together. So really, really, really pleased. And I'd just say to all of you, every single individual, whether you contributed or not, even if you watched, because I know some of you couldn't contribute because, you know, not everyone's got a lot of money or some people aren't old enough. But if you were part of it, you were part of it, and we share it, and no one can ever take away what the United Stand achieved on that 24 hours. And, you know, I think we'll probably end up doing it again in the future. So thanks everybody, absolutely fantastic, and really special. And I'm going to go and have a hot bath and watch Peaky Blinders and have a night's sleep, and then we'll hit it again. We go again tomorrow. We've got Skype Goldbridge at 8 o'clock. Manchester United playing on Wednesday. Red Rumours will go up at the lunchtime. Big games coming up. But thanks to my guests as per usual. Ross, give us your Twitter feed as well.
Cheers, mate. I'm at Hazza90, and yeah, mate, it was a fantastic thing you did, mate. So good on you.
Well, as I said, everybody did it, so I don't, you know, it's under the United Stand umbrella, and if you contributed, and you should all be very proud. And Flex, the only thing I feel really bad about is that because we were live for 24 hours, the fan cams were brilliant. And if you've not seen the fan cams, they are up on the channel. They obviously went up when we were live, so I know a lot of people were watching the live stream and maybe never saw the fan cams, but a lot of you have seen it. They're brilliant. They're getting better and better. And we were talking before we went live, Flex, the Arsenal ones. One way or another, I think the Arsenal ones are going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, firstly, just, I mean, on the fan cams, I mean, it was such a great thing that you were doing. For 1 week, it didn't really matter what we did. I think that was the main thing, what you was trying to achieve there, and you've done a really good job. But yeah, if you haven't seen the fan cams, they're really eventful, they're really funny, and a lot of people jumping in. I think the fact that Pogba was back, it just felt really vibrant outside it. And that's why I didn't really want to get sucked into it too much, because it was just a routine win against Newcastle. But it was really, really good, really funny. So make sure you guys check that out. Check out my Twitter feed as well. Add me on Twitter at Flex United Stand, all one. And let's get it cracking on there. Yeah, but thanks for having me once again, guys. And we go again next week. Brighton will be there again. So another 3 points needed, and I'm sure we'll get it.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. And Flex does some stuff on the Instagram as well, which I realised the link was broke. There's a lot of information in our video description, like our Facebook page, Instagram, so you can follow us on there. Skype will be tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, where you can all call in if there's stuff you disagree or agree with, or you want to talk about. 8 o'clock tomorrow night's your show. I really enjoy that one. Sunday night show just flies by, which means it's been a good show, so please do drop a like on it. You've all contributed, which is great. The Just Giving thing is going to be up there, so that's in the video description. And yeah, if you were up with us, I know a lot of you are tired, so get off, get some rest, enjoy the start to your week and the last bit of the weekend. Go and watch the fan cams if you haven't seen them. As Breach69 says, they're brilliant. And yeah, just a good weekend for United. Good, fantastic, epic weekend for the United Stand. And you know, long may it continue with United. I think we've turned a corner in many ways, and I just hope there's no meltdown, because Arsenal and Watford are difficult games, and we do need to win them. But I think we need to be realistic. If we go and play well, and you know, a referee decision goes against us and we draw, you know, we're in that last chance saloon. But I think there's going to be progress at this club, and there always has been under Mourinho. So hang in there. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you all tomorrow. So speak to you all soon. Cheers for coming on, guys.
No problem, man. Thanks for having us again.
Cheers, Mark. Thanks,